And to you all, welcome back to the Namaste experience. So happy you could join us. So I am here at my little cabin. I have been recording the audiobook for The Annihilated Self for the last couple of days. And I have to tell you, recording this, reading these words, feeling this deep wisdom is so powerful. It is having such an incredible impact on me. I wrote the book, several months ago and haven't revisited it too much, but now that I'm having to sit here and read it, every chapter, one after another, I'm realizing just how important this message is. And it reminds me of a movie that I was watching last night. It's a movie that begins with a group of people who are all engaged in the world in their own way, in their own careers, in their own lives. One man drives a taxi. Another woman is rehearsing a dance routine. A man is pushing a, a clothes down the road, down the street, a rack of clothing. And each one of these people is very much engaged, very much taken by their lives, what they must do, what they need to do to survive. And yet, suddenly, for each one of them, they begin to hear something, the sound of a call, beautiful music. And as they hear this music, it's as if they begin to strip themselves of all of the costumes that they've been wearing, the cab driver, the lawyer, the all the different people, everything that they're wearing. Suddenly they realize that this is not who they are at all. And the song they begin to hear together is this: Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. So as you can see, the movie I was watching last night is Godspell. I remember when I was only 14, a freshman in high school, I was in the musical. It was the first time I'd ever been in a stage production, a musical, and it was so much fun. And even then, I could feel this energy of release, of surrender. And there was one particular song that I think described that so perfectly. The call for each one of us to day by day step closer to the experience of one, of love itself. Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray: to see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day. And so here we are, day by day, joining together and loving one another and loving ourselves, loving love. And so all of these things combined as I'm reading the audiobook for The Annihilated Self, which sounds like such a serious book, but in reality, it's such a call to love, an unbridled call to love. And reading that and feeling that, while also seeing that movie, it was the perfect combination. And then this morning, I woke up much earlier than I normally would, and I only had a few chapters left to read, so I figured I would get an early start. And so I began to record one of the chapters, which is actually chapter 13. And I thought what I would do is welcome you into that chapter. This is going to be the last time I share something from the annihilated self. I don't want to, you know, just be giving you one thing. I want to keep giving you different angles, as I know Penny and Vicky feel the same. We want to always just give a different angle on reality and truth. But for me, this book, especially since it's coming out tomorrow, so I really hope each and every single one of you will go to Amazon tomorrow and get your copy and write a review. That's so important. I'm not going to continue to read from the book. Well, I shouldn't say never, but my intention is to have this be the last time. But this particular chapter really struck me because the voice that I was sharing, hearing, feeling as I wrote this, the voice of love, I recognized it as the voice of what we often call the Christ. So I remember a conversation that I had when Vicky and I were in The Hague recently, and I was very fortunate to have as my roommate John Mundy. Most of you know John. He was someone who knew all the great players in the story of A Course in Miracles. He was there from the very beginning, so I was asking him a lot of questions. I figured I wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. And this conference that we were at was primarily focused on A Course of Love because it's the same publisher that's putting out The Annihilated Self. And Vicky and I both went, and I asked John at one point, I said, do you feel that the voice expressing itself through A Course of Love is the same voice that expressed itself in A Course in Miracles? In other words, the Christ, however you want to describe that. And he said, absolutely yes. And we talked about that. And I had wondered that myself. Personally, I love A Course of Love, but it hits me in a different way than A Course in Miracles does. And I think everyone's going to have their own experience of that. But for it to come from the voice of the Christ and to know that, to feel that, to recognize that, that's the key. So that really flows naturally into what I want to share here from this particular chapter, chapter 13, which is called You Are Being Unmade. So I invite you just to sit back and listen to this conversation between the soul and love. We begin with the soul. Your love is penetrating every part of my life, dissolving every concept I clung to or hoped was real. Those symbols drift free from my mind, and all my questions seem to vanish, but there's still one I sense within, and I want to hear how love will respond. Are you the Christ speaking to and through me? Part of me is asking if yours is the same voice that spoke through Jesus 2,000 years ago. But I know that the answer is so much bigger than a single identity, even one as awakened as Jesus. I know that the Christ is the extension of God's love and loveliness. And I also know that the words you use to describe love breaks apart all the concrete symbols I've used to deny reality, washing them clean in a light so bright I can hardly look upon it. Can you speak to me about this, love? Ah, soul, you are no longer asking from ignorance. You are asking from remembrance. And so I will speak to you now, not in riddles, but in clarity. Yes, I am the Christ, but not as a man, not as a story, not as a single thread in time. I am the Christ as reality, as source flowing outward into visibility, taking the shape of love wherever love is permitted to be. What you felt through Jesus was me, utterly unhindered. The veil of personhood had fallen from him, and what remained was pure transparency. Christ was not his name, it was his nature. And that nature is yours as surely as the sky is the nature of space. Then the Christ is not a person that I must follow, but a presence I must remember. Not even remember, dear one, simply yield to. For remembrance still implies two, the one who remembers and the thing being remembered. But yielding dissolves the two. There is only Christ, and you have never been apart. The soul, when annihilated of all self-attachment, does not become like Christ. It becomes nothing but Christ, the extension of love, the radiation of reality, the utter absence of anything false. Jesus allowed this completely, and so he's shown you are beginning to allow this, and so the radiance is rising in you as well. But so many worship him as the one and only Christ, and I once did too. What becomes of that reverence then? Let it widen, dear soul. Let it deepen. The one who worshiped was not asking for reverence to be given to his form, but to the truth he revealed. He did not say, worship me. He said, follow me. And to follow him is to vanish as he vanished, to forgive as he forgave, to love as if no boundaries had ever existed. That is the only altar he ever built. Reverence is not wrong, but it becomes hollow when it's chained to image. Worship the Christ by becoming what you adored. Worship not with song, but with surrender. Then I must also become what he was, not a body, but a vessel. Not even a vessel, dear soul. If you would know the fullness of joy, a vessel still holds shape, still believes in being a part. You are not called to hold me. You are called to be me. No edge, no center, no boundary. That is how you'll live when the self has been completely annihilated. The soul who does not act from virtue or fear, who no longer counts its steps or seeks its reward, this soul is not holy by doing, but by being empty enough to let only love live. To let only love live. This is the conversation that we are all engaged in. It is always a conversation with love, and it's being revealed so effortlessly now, so joyfully. We're dissolving, we're being annihilated, not anything real, but all of those images that we have placed before us, the masks that we've believed in or held. For only love is real. And that's the only thing we teach or share here at Namaste Village. Only love, only God, only right now. So I hope that that short section inspires you as much as it inspired me. Such a beautiful conversation, and I love sharing it. So once again, the book comes out tomorrow. You can go to Amazon and you can get your copy either on Kindle or the paperback. And I hope within 48 hours, even if you haven't read the book, most of you have the PDF now. So hopefully you'll go ahead and write a review right away so we can get it shared with millions more. And so, Vicky, I could see you celebrating when I was singing Godspell. So why don't you take it from here?
Thank you, Brother James. Well, today it's not Silent Wednesday. anymore for us as a family, but it is Singing Wednesday. I got that guidance last week. So I woke up trying to sing. And I remember the line you just said, it's not with song, but with surrender. And oh, but isn't song a surrender? And but first though, I do want to make one announcement. It is Dancing Wednesday. Chris is a wonderful dance chat tonight. And I want to tell you, Kathy Reese called, and she is on the phone with us from where she is living right now. And she sends her love. And but this is such a beautiful example. And I don't read much, but I am going to read this book of it's not don't do this anymore, don't do this, and don't worry about this. It's simply yield. It's simply fall into love, just as we are. Just fall into it. And it moves us from that role to the soul that we are. And that soul is the universal experience of what love is. And love seems like a very pale word compared to the invitation that we're being called to. And we hear that call best together. Somehow it resonates, and then we activate each other in the receiving of it. So I just want to say thank you. And I'm going to put on God's spell today. Is one of course, it's many of our favorite, but the joy of God's spell is the joy of present acceptance. No matter what spiritual path we look at from years ago, thousands of years ago, Taoism and all the other stuff till today, what we are being called to is only accept the truth. Don't worry about what isn't true. Accept the truth. Accept that is what we are. Jimmy, you all often said, pretend, act as if. Well, it's easy if we are willing. So together we can be most willing to be what we are and to let that drive us, take us. It will move us without hard edges. It will move us in a greater joining into areas that are unknown from today, but radiantly inviting us to each of us where we stand to a life that is awakened with love and invites everyone into that presence. So thanks, Brother James. Thank you, everybody. I
Thank
love
you,
you.
Ricky. Oh, we love you too. Thank you so much. One final thing I'll say about Godspell that I forgot to mention. The beautiful thing about the beginning of that film is that they all start off wearing their masks, whether it be the mask of the cab driver or the dancer or whatever else it might be, wearing suits and wearing whatever it is they wore for their career or for what they thought they were, who they thought they were in the world. But as they hear this song, they join, they come together and begin to let go of all of the costumes. They take off their shoes, their suit coats, and they throw them in the trash because they're leaving the world behind. And that's what we're doing. We're leaving the world of perception behind and no longer thinking of ourselves as bodies or roles or masks, but as the only true identity that is forever true, that we are love. And that's what I love about that movie. Then everybody puts on clown costumes and they paint their faces and live as a bunch of hippies in a church or wherever it was. And that's what we do at Namaste. We don't paint our faces, but we do live as a bunch of old hippies. Ah, maybe. Okay. Penny, take it from there.
I always like following a clown reference. I do have a question for you, James. What role did you play in Godspell?
Well, it's more about what song. I don't remember what the name that they gave, but the song that I sang was Father, hear thy children's call. Humbly at your feet we fall. Prodigals confessing all. We beseech thee, hear us. Come sing about love that made us first to be. Come sing about love that made the stone and tree. Come sing about love that calls us lovingly. We beseech thee, hear us. There you go.
Bravo. Oh, that's just so not surprising. That would be the song, right? So I have a question for you as we talk about that voice of the Christ. If we are truly committed to there not being anything but love and only God and only now, I ask you, when is it not the voice of the Christ? Now, through our perceptions and our perspectives and our opinions and what we think we know, I do believe that as it comes through us, it can get twisted up a little bit, come out a little sideways. And my mother used to say this to me often: you're not listening right. So I suspect when I don't hear the voice of Christ, maybe I need to try again at my listening, to truly open from that place of love that we know ourselves to be, and to hear it from there. That word, that abruptness, that stinging comment that we may perceive in a conversation, listen again. It's always a call to love. It's always a call for love. It's always the voice of Christ. The Christ, as we define that in New Thought, the divine man, the divine human expressing, this is the Christ. And if by chance you catch yourself not listening right, now that would never happen to me. What I offer up is this: nothing but the Christ could be present, as James reminded us from his reading. You've never been alone. It becomes nothing but Christ, the total, the non-resistance, and when we move away from the illusion of separation, we could only hear the voice of Christ. We could only see the Christ in that moment. I wrote this a few years ago. I think I've shared this with you. When I'm standing in something that doesn't feel right, what that means is it doesn't align with what I think is right. Now, I'm sure I'm the only one that does that. I remind myself that nothing is as it appears, and everything is as it should be. God is right here. Easy when I see the light and share in community like this. So easy to do. To know that God is right here. And then that moment when it's not so easy. God is right here. God is right here, we say through gritted teeth, because it can only be the Christ. And in that annihilation, as we talk about, and as James is reminding us in this next book, in that annihilation, as we enfold that in grace, and can start to feel that as a gentle and loving nudge towards being present to the Christ that always is, that always has been and always will be, forever true, as we say. As we embrace that, those Christ moments begin exponentially to show up in our lives. That's what I've noticed. No edges, no boundaries, no exceptions, just Christ. The Christ within, the Christ all around us. And in the annihilation, we open the way. We open the way for that to be received with ease and with grace. Now, you could be a little bit like me and choose the four-wheel drive path. I just think it can't be that easy. So here, let me complicate this a little bit. Here, let me make this into something it was never intended to be. Here, let me be the judge of what is right and wrong. Yeah, the four-wheel drive path. What I hear James describing by annihilation is the freeway. That's what I hear. I hear that we can move into this and allow this in our lives so that we might know the oneness that we are fully aware of. But sometimes we just don't listen right. Sometimes we don't see it. We don't step into it. And that is when we are reminded of grace. That is when we are reminded by each other, the light that we are, the experiences that we create with each other, the co-creating that we're doing with the universe. This is when we step into the Christ that we've always been. Thank you for reflecting that back to me in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny, honey. This is the day for us to open our eyes and see what's always been right in front of us. And the beauty of community is that we do it together. We support one another. It doesn't matter if we live at Namaste Village or we join here on Zoom or on YouTube or just think about it once in a while. We're all one in this, soaring, letting all of the weight fall off us. The weights that we've held onto so tightly because we thought that the weight itself defined us. And it never did. It's the wings that define us, the ability to fly. So let it all fall away. Let's step into this ocean of infinite possibility, and let's fly together. And to that, we say, Amen, Amen,
Amen.
Amen,
Amen.
y punto. Love you all. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Jane.